Perfect. Hi guys, I'm George from DoraHacks and welcome back to the final Solana Summer Camp Hackathon Applicant Project Demo Session. I will be your host and moderator for this demo session, and please feel free to reach out to me at any time via my email, george@dorahacks.com, or my Telegram @gp_Dora if you'd like to connect and chat more about building a project or partnerships with DoraHacks. For a bit of background on this demo session, since 2021, DoraHacks has supported Solana and Solana Labs hackathons. We have supported the first Solana hackathon, Ignition, Riptide, and now the current Solana Summer Camp. For the Solana Summer Camp hackathon, there are 6 tracks: mobile, payments, DeFi, Web3, gaming, and DAOs. To view the other projects who participated in the Solana Summer Camp hackathon, please visit dorahacks.io and click on the Hackathon tab where you'll see all of the past and present hackathons that are running at the moment. The Solana Summer Camp Hackathon was a fantastic opportunity for projects to win a share of prizes on offer, and DoraHacks is also providing an exclusive grant round by using Solana's native version of quadratic funding. Some of the best projects building on Solana and participants in this hackathon will be able to win some of these extra prizes. Today we have got 4 fantastic projects joining us to speak about their project and give us all a demo. They are Elusiv, Color Network, Faceless, and Next Step. For the audience, please feel free to share any questions that you may have during the session in the YouTube or Binance Live chat rooms. We're happy to ask these questions as we go. So without further ado, let's welcome the Elusiv team to present their project to us.
Welcome, thanks, George. All right, let me share my screen. All right. Here we are. So yeah, as George already said, we're building next generation privacy on Solana, and that means we're providing infrastructure with which existing wallets and existing protocols can easily add privacy to what they already have. So before telling you more about it, I think the best way to get a feel for it is just to give you a quick little demo. So for this, we've built our own little wallet. And again, remember, like, our key product is the infrastructure that allows this wallet to use privacy and not the wallet itself. So excuse if it looks like not perfect. So yeah, let me log into this wallet. And you can see on here, I have a bit of SOL, and you might notice here I have my public balance, which is just a normal balance you have like in your normal cryptocurrency wallet. And as you might see here, I have a private balance. Now, this private balance is what's actually stored on chain inside of the Elusiv program. And it's essentially a balance that you own privately, with which you can interact with the world without anyone being able to trace it back to your public key on chain. And the way you can imagine the flow with it is sort of like a debit card. You top it up with a certain amount of money. Here, for example, I'm topping it up with 1 SOL. There we go. And once you've topped it up with a certain amount of money, you can send it to any address on Solana. The address doesn't need to be configured for Solana. So for that, let me just generate a new private key real quick, a new key pair real quick. Okay, so we've just generated this key pair. Didn't need to sign this key didn't need to sign up for Elusiv, didn't need to do anything. Like, this solution works even if I'm the sender and I care about privacy and the recipient has never heard of Elusiv in his life. He can still receive money through it using Elusiv. And yeah, so let's click here. Let's go send. You can see we still have a private balance. Let's copy in the key we just generated and let's send them, let's say 0.3 SOL. And now we have this little slider here where we can decide if it's not checked, it would just be a normal Solana transfer. Or if we do send privately, it will use the Elusiv private balance to make the transfer. And yeah, it hangs here for a second because it's generating the zero-knowledge proof. However, that shouldn't take more than a couple of seconds. Here we go. Now it's saying transaction. And there we go. Okay, so now let's check the little key that we just generated a minute ago. And 0.3 SOL. Perfect, like we wanted. So yeah, let me tell you a bit more about how Elusiv works. So yeah, the key thing to realize for us was basically when we thought about building Elusiv, we knew privacy was absolutely crucial for blockchains to go mainstream. Because on one hand, you have your average person going to the coffee shop who's of course not comfortable paying for a $5 coffee if the coffee shop owner can then see how much money they have, how much they're paying for rent, all this stuff. And on the other side, you also have big institutionals where they won't want to use the blockchain for their financial infrastructure if they know their competitors can track real time every transfer, acquisition, whatever that they're making. So for this, we had to make privacy more accessible. One way to do that was, of course, to get costs down. As you saw, transaction costs, we managed to get them as low as a penny. I think the example I just showed you was something like 3 cents or something like that. So definitely, far better than even if you had to pay a couple of dollars, which would still be too much if you're buying a $5 coffee. Second, processing a transaction also has to be, easily accessible. We think users care about privacy, but not to the point that they're willing to go to a fully new website or fully new blockchain, have to download a special wallet or something like that. So for that reason, as mentioned, we're building an SDK with which existing developers can easily integrate privacy into what they already have, like with the example of the wallet here, where it's a native experience. And of course, last but not least, processing a private transaction can't take 30 seconds. It has to take around the same time as a normal transaction. As you saw there, it takes a little bit longer, but still, reasonable time frame. And yeah, finally, composability. I said we're building an SDK. Of course, it can't be some super complicated cryptographic process to implement. So this is all you would have to do if you own a wallet to integrate Elusiv private transfers by you. First thing you do is you generate a new Elusiv instance, which is essentially, the super class basically that you can call the functions on to do private transfers. After that, you just have one function to top up your private balance, which generates a transaction. And then you, as the wallet, for example, this is the normal send and confirm transaction call from the Solana API. You send the transaction off to the blockchain. Then you have your private balance. And then using your private balance, you call this send with private balance and are able to make a private transfer. Yeah, let me give you a quick overview of what the core technology looks like and how it works. So let's say we have Alice here and she wants to send some money to Bob, but she wants to do so in a private manner. So what she'd do first is she generate her top-up transaction. For example, she has 1 Sol in her wallet. So what she does is she generates a transaction, sends it into the Elusiv program, which is this like green thing here, and encodes it in sort of a commitment, which is just some secret cryptographic thing to put it bluntly, which essentially means that she has money stored in here, but anyone looking into the pool doesn't, can't directly see all the information about it. And now she has topped up her balance. She has 1 Sol inside the pool. What she does now is she generates a zero-knowledge proof that essentially proves she knows one of these values here in the pool contains, her money, but she doesn't reveal which one. And then the important thing is, if she would just submit the zero-knowledge proof normally, then Bob would be able to see, okay, Alice topped up her balance and Alice sent money, so that means it's Alice who sent me money, even if it comes from the pool. So what she does is she takes the zero-knowledge proof, passes it to one of these wardens, the wardens that encodes the zero-knowledge proof in a transaction, and actually submits it to the chain. Notice how the zero-knowledge proof transfer from Alice to the warden is not a transaction. This is just an HTTP request that is not publicly visible to everyone. So the warden submits a zero-knowledge proof. The on-chain program verifies this, checks its data, if Alice's money is really there and so on, and then sends the money to Bob. Bob, if now he wants to see, I wonder who sent me this money, he can check, he can open his favorite block explorer, for example, and he'll see, okay, I received money from the pool. And then he'll check, okay, well, who initiated the transfer to, transfer money to the pool to my account? And he'll see, okay, it was warden number 3, for example. And notice how in his checks, he has no way of tracing it back to actually being Alice because he doesn't see which one of these little, fields, commitments was used to give money to him. So, and these wardens, aside from providing privacy, also have another big advantage that is something we actually worked a lot on during this hackathon and kept in mind probably since we started working on Elusiv a couple months ago, which is compliance. As some of you may know, Trado Cash offered a similar system, or still offers unofficially a similar system for privacy. However, it suffers from the problem that, unfortunately, some bad actors took advantage of it. And our goal for Elusiv is, of course, to offer privacy solution to provide privacy to good people, not to help out criminals in obscuring their crimes from the world. So for this reason, our wardens allow us to execute a suite of compliance solutions that we've designed. I don't think there's enough time to explain all of them in this presentation, but feel free to check out our Twitter where all of these are more closely explained. But yeah, mainly, so this one here, Elusiv Warden Trust Execution Environments, is that we leverage trust execution environments to provide privacy to certain people that the network deems worthy of privacy. So basically what that means that the wardens and participants in the network can essentially vote that certain addresses, for example, let's say Alice was a criminal, and then you can say, okay, Alice doesn't deserve of privacy, and then using some stuff, Then if she sends it into the Elusiv pool and it goes back out to Bob, the network, if they have 65% consensus, can basically decrypt this transaction. And then not just Bob, everyone can see that this private transfer to Bob actually originally came from Alice. Second, we have account flagging, which, as the name implies, allows flagging of certain accounts in a cryptographic way. Then we have proof of identity, which is, for example, if I want to send money privately to some retail provider, but they don't accept money from US customers, for example, then I can prove using I can generate a zero-knowledge proof that doesn't reveal my address or doesn't reveal anything, but it can, for example, reveal I don't come from the United States, and therefore you can accept my money, otherwise you can reject it. Proof of origin is if I'm a good actor and I need to prove my transfer. For tax reasons, for example, I can generate a zero-knowledge proof that one specific transaction belonged to me. And finally, limited amounts, I think is pretty straightforward. Finally, the one thing that we think is the most exciting and what's sort of our future plan with Elusiv is Elusiv zkVMs. And again, going back to a little picture, as you can see here, the zero-knowledge proof generation part is only one little step that Alice did here. But otherwise, you have these relayers, you have this Merkle tree here, which is the pool, you have the on-chain verifier for the zero-knowledge proof. All this infrastructure is necessary no matter what type of zero-knowledge proof you want to do. However, what's interesting to see is that all this infrastructure can also be reused no matter what type of zero-knowledge proof you're submitting. So for this reason, what we're planning on building next is called Elusiv zkVMs, which essentially allows anyone to generate a zero-knowledge proof and verify it using the Elusiv infrastructure, meaning it saves them tons of time of not having to take care of all the stuff it says here, on-chain proof verification, Merkle tree storage, proof relaying, all of this. So that's pretty much what we've built with Elusiv, and this is where we're going. So at this point, I'll be happy to answer any questions from the audience that they might have about Elusiv.
Fantastic. Thank you for your presentation and giving us an insight into Elusiv. One of the questions that I had for you is in terms of competition in the space of what you're developing. Who are your competitors, and how do you plan to differentiate yourself from them and gain a user base?
Absolutely. So our main competitor in this space, I would say, is called Light Protocol. And our key differentiator to them is, as mentioned here. Well, one key differentiator that we have to them is our compliance solutions, which basically ensures that bad actors have very hard difficulty getting into our system, and these are quite difficult to rebuild, especially because they require a lot of they rely a lot on having this relayer infrastructure be decentralized. And for this, we've been able to secure a number of key partnerships, which essentially allow us to run this. And second, as mentioned, the user experience of Light Protocol is currently you go to lightprotocol.com. You have to go on their website. You have to do these separate steps on the website, which doesn't work too well if you're buying a coffee or something like that, because then of course you don't want to go to an external website. So for that reason, as again, our approach is to offer an SDK, and for SDK, when we go mainnet in a couple of months, we already have some key wallets that will be directly integrated natively into, which should allow us to secure a great user base through that. So those are our key differentiators.
Fantastic. And then also could you touch briefly on your roadmap over the next 3, 6, 12 months? What's next?
Yeah, absolutely. So our roadmap is basically, we will be launching most likely only with this specific compliance solution, because this one we think is the most key one. And at the beginning, also, the only type of zero-knowledge proof that we will be supporting is the zero-knowledge type proof that I described and demoed here, which is only for sending money. However, what we have on our roadmap is, of course, to add this other stuff we've designed, which will be one step, which I think for the average user might not be that interesting, but it's very good for ensuring that criminals stay out of the system. But more excitingly, as mentioned, what we have on our roadmap is the Elusiv zkVMs, which will enable privacy for a myriad of applications and allow anyone who wants to work with zero-knowledge proofs on Solana to do so easily without having to take care of all the heavy lifting of the external infrastructure. So you can think private trading on DeFi protocols, private lending, private whatever.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thanks, Nico, for your time. Appreciate it. And if any other questions come up, then I'll relay them back to you closer to the end of the session. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Perfect. Now we'll move on to the next project. So welcome to the Kala Network team.
Hello guys. Hello,
Michael.
DoraHacks. Thanks for having me and Color Network for this applications demo. So let's just share my screen. Yeah, so our colors, we are going to build the next generation of Web3 social platform. Actually, we are going to build equivalents of Facebook and Twitter as combinations. Our team is conclude a veteran in the software industry for a long time, and we share the same vision in order to create the top-notch social platform for the mass audience. And we want to onboard millions of users to the Solana ecosystem and blockchains as a whole. They specify that the content creator in the traditional form are not rewarded for their created premium content they created. So we want to create the reward platform for the content creator to earn from the content they created. And in the time when we work with some small and medium VC, we see that a lot of people use different tools and service for their daily activities. It's like they gather the pool with another tool, or they chat on a different channel. So we want to be this as a one-stop investment platform for the investor, for the small and medium investor to use and socialize on our platform as a whole. Yes. This is our business model. The Kala social network will be the backbone and the infrastructure for the user to use our service. First brand is the B2B. We have the community investment down. They will create the membership. The membership will allow them to read the premium content. And then if they the DAO and the group, if they find any promising project or potential project, they will do the investment. So each NFT, group of investment NFT, will represent their investment allocations, and they will buy the NFT in order to invest to the potential project. And we also have other Web3 services like advertisement, giveaway, and airdrop. Actually, we also provide this to some of the Web3 projects on our platform right now. And we also have the GameFi element here. We have the game allow the user to use the NFT of pen and pencil. They can earn and speed up the earning by buying the high level of the pen NFT. And if they want to sell the pen NFT, or if they want to assist from the investment down, they can sell the NFT on the NFT marketplace we have right here. So basically, the revenue stream of the Color Network will come from the NFT marketplace, and 50% of the service fee will come to the Chesspool, and we will share the reward to the Color Network token holder and the NFT holder. Yes. This is how the community investment there work. I just had before. Basically, we have the group on the Color Social, and people will buy the group of membership NFT in order to join the DAO, and they can vote for the next project that they want to investment. And the DAO leader will create the proposal and pass with the council or the community. And if they want to investment, they will buy the NFT here, and later they can vote for the fund user and allow the chamber to refund temporarily. They don't get, they don't have to be afraid the dilutor can, take money and go away. So we vote, and we are checking on the activity on the chaser pool right here, and we also have the privilege to vote for the future plans. Yeah, so I will show you how the Color Social Network right here. Basically, this is sorry, Yeah, you can connect the wallet into the cloud social network system using the Binance chains or Solana chains. And this is how it works. You can have when you look into the cloud social, you can see the new face right here and explore what has been happening throughout the world. You can also go to the chat to chat with the others or a friend here. And you can go to your file. The your file. In your file page, you can see how many posts, how many followers, and how many flows you have been so far. And we reward the user by allowing they do the daily quest right here. We have 4 main activity. The first one will be looking their app, how many likes they made, how many command they posted in the ecosystem, and how many friends they refer to the system like this. User can check the user they refer to the system, and also checking for the history of the earning, how many days and how much the Kudo token they has rewarded during their activity here, right here. Talking about the group, we allow the people to rate the group, and each group will, you can see the group here. For example, we go to the cloud network group here. This is how we can, base some rule of the activity here, and how many member and when to create it. And you can see all the member here. And yes, we are developing the investment DAO. So I will share this. You see my video?
Yep, it's loading now. Yep.
All right, this is the thing we are in developing and we'll release this month. This is the investment DAO. When you up to the group, you can create the DAO right here. Everything is a no-code platform, so the user can easily mint the NFT and create the DAO right here. They can use the front-end wallet and the Solana chain in order to create the DAO and the NFT. They can search to see the investment DAO, and they can view the detail of the investment DAO right here. For example, you can see the browser is running right here. We can vote for the project A. They want to invest into project A, and when the committee has been, agreed that we would go with the project A, they can go to the next stage of investment. As the chaser, the token allocation that the project A allow this committee to buy. Yeah, this is a sample how our investment DAO will look like. And we have activity, we have the roles, we have the rules right here, just like setting the how many percent will be passed if the committee vote. And as I said previously, that the MFT here will represent the token allocation for the investment. So the DAO leader will, deposit the MFT. And when they connect to the wallet, they can see on the FT, the DAO leader have minted before on a platform. Because the time limits also, I cannot show you how the FT mint on our platform, but this is a zero knowledge platform, and where the DAO leader can create the mint rights on the platform. Yeah, they can select the FT, and there you go. So on the activity right here, they can check on the investment DAO, etc. The token, the transaction, then the activity right here. Yes, so that is how investment work. So far, we have onboard nearly 30 Web3 partners into our platform, and hopefully we can get onboard the other. These projects consider us as one of their main social media channel, and they distribute the content to their user and calendar user at the same time. So that's way that is the way how we go to the market. We collaborate with the other Web3 project, onboard them to our platform, and allow them to spread the message to our user base. So together we can build a bigger and bigger user base for the Web3. This is the current transaction we have so far. We have 45,000 subscribers, and we have 85,000 registered users in our platform. And at the on-time current user, we get 1,000 on-time current in our platform. So we are welcome other Web3 project on board to Kala Social Network, and hopefully we can build a mass adoption for the Web3. Thanks. That's all for the Kala Network.
Thanks, Michael.
Yes.
Thanks for your presentation.
Yeah.
I did have some questions for you. So a question that keeps popping up into my mind when thinking about SocialFi platforms is, what are the biggest challenges and friction points that you see when trying to create a SocialFi platform?
Actually, the very first thing a problem for a new social network is that the cost step problem, because people when they come for a reward. Yeah, so we have to peel a lot of content, and we peel the content later in-house and collaborate with others to write a lot of interesting content in order to get the new user on board. And then when the people come together, each group will cross over the other group, and when the network effect happens, the community become big group. So we solve this by onboarding our project first, and then we know each other, so we can solve the cost step problem of a social network. That is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And then in terms of forming partnerships, how have you found that process? Has it been pretty? Are people pretty open to the idea and partnering with you?
Yes. Yeah. We talk with a project case by case, and we are some kind of the duties, and if the projects have some idea, and we face to face, we know them, we check the logic, we onboard them to our platform, and we provide them with the blue stick verifications. So that's way how we prove them that to the user, and also get result that they have the logic team right there, and they onboard to the client reward system. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your time. And we'll hear from you later on if there are any questions that come through in the YouTube and Binance live chat room.
Yeah, my honor.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael.
Contact me anytime. Yeah.
Now we'll move on to the next project. Welcome to the Faceless team.
Hi. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I'm sorry. Some problem with my screen. Hey. Today I'm going to introduce Faceless, which is a cross-platform private payment scheme for human-readable identifiers. So I was the CTO of Solana project. So I started many private payment schemes such as Solana, Aztec, DoraHacks. So all these schemes, they focus on protecting payment privacy between layer 1 blockchain addresses. And as we know, all these addresses, blockchain addresses, are usually random strings, right? So you can remember it, and it's not easy to manage, and it's not tied to the application scenario. But if you think about it in the traditional payment scheme, for instance, like PayPal, right? PayPal is based on your email address, and maybe WeChat Pay is based on your WeChat ID, right? So there's a reason for that, right? Because your transaction record will be tied to your human readable identifiers, right? Which can serve as an evidence for later use, right? maybe you pay debt to your friends or something like that, right? You want your transaction record to be associated with your own identity, like real identity, right? So human readable identifiers, such as mobile phone. There are tons of examples for this, like your mobile phone numbers, or maybe your Twitter, Facebook account, or your email addresses, or even your DID, right? These are, closely tied to the application scenario and very easy to remember. So we believe, Web 3.0 payment will, mostly happen between human HRIs. And therefore, we aim to build a cross-platform private payment scheme for HRIs. And our scheme is not a DID project because we believe we're challenging for DID without any history or background information to serve as the basis for regulation compliant finance, which is one of the central applications of our project. So our vision is to break the digital walled garden of the existing internet company in a privacy-preserving manner. So here are some use cases. For instance, let's say you are a Twitter user, Bob, right? You see some media article and you like it. You want to tip the author. One thing you can do in the future is to tip the author via Facebook protocol, or maybe a Facebook user tag, right? You watch some ads on Facebook, about some virtual estate on Decentraland. You want to purchase this NFT. You can also use our cross-platform payment scheme to sort of pay the owner of this NFT, right? So we believe there's huge potentials for our protocol, and the sky is the limit. So here are some of our competitors. So we like MetaMask, BUIDL, DoraHacks, and ENS. So we mainly compare in 3 dimensions: the HI compatibility, and also regulation compliance, and also privacy-centric. And our protocol is the first one to achieve all these 3 properties with the noise FTV. So the main technical feature, the first one, since it's a cross-platform private payment scheme, so obviously we have to solve 2 privacy issues regarding payments. Right, the first one is about the user identity anonymity, which in our case is HI anonymity, right? And also, since it's a payment scheme, you have to guarantee the amount is confidential, so you have to guarantee the amount confidentiality, right? And from my experience, in dealing with Solana project, what we learn is that users usually hate to manage private keys, right? So since a user could have like many HIs, right? How do you use one secret key to manage many HIs, right? As I mentioned in the above, many types of HIs, right? So in other words, you have to use one key to manage all these payments. How do you we call it one key to do them all. This is one problem we would like to address in the Faceless protocol. And also, since regulation compliance is a central issue in our protocol, so we also like to verify the user's HRIs, right? I mean, let's say you claim you own the Twitter account, maybe Elon Musk, right? So how do I know you are indeed the owner of this Twitter account, right? We have to verify that. Maybe you own a certain mobile number. Also, I have to verify that. So, but since it's also Faceless is a private payment scheme, therefore we have to guarantee the privacy of this whole process. So, this is another challenge we need to address. So before I dive into how we solve this problem, the general picture of this payment scheme is going to be a layer 2 protocol, which can be deployed on any smart contract platforms. So in our case, blockchain addresses is sort of like your commercial bank account, and HI account is sort of like your PayPal account, right? So usually the interaction between the layer 1 and layer 2 address is going to be less frequent, but usually involve a large transaction amount. On the other hand, the transaction between the HI accounts, since it's tied to your daily experience, your application scenario, so it's going to be very frequent, but involves a smaller amount. So in the future, we also intend to develop some ROA scheme to further improve the scalability of this process. So the key technology of our scheme involves 2 technologies. The first one is anonymous identity-based encryption scheme. So IB was proposed by Adi Shamir, who's a Turing Award winner in late 70s as a replacement for PKI-based public encryption scheme. As we know, in the traditional public encryption scheme, if you want to encrypt a message for someone, you have to first find out his or her public key, right? But you know, public key is basically a random string. How do you know exactly which random string is your public key, right? So therefore, you know, in the traditional PKE scheme, you have to have this infrastructure which is called PKI, public key infrastructure, whose sole responsibility is to establish the connection between your identity and your you know, public key, your random string, right? So in the identity-based encryption scheme, basically you can use your the recipient's identity directly as your public key, right? So therefore, you don't have to, you know, separate these two things, right? So therefore, it's a perfect fit for you know, developing a private payment scheme for HI, right? Because HI is your identity, right? So you can sort of like use your identity directly as your public key, and everything just follows, right? This is why how we design our schemes. Also, the other tool we use is called Zephyr. Zephyr protocol is a private payment scheme specifically designed for layer 1 addresses, right? So since we're talking about HIs, right, which is layer 2 accounts, so how do we need to modify the underlying scheme, Zephyr scheme, you know, in order to fit for HIs. Okay, so let's talk about how we address, you know, the 3 technical requirements. So the first one is about one key to rule them all. So mainly we get this property from, you know, the properties of identity-based encryption, the key generation property of identity-based encryption. So so you can see the difference between key generation of PKE and IB, right? So in the case of PKE, you can see the user first chooses a secret key and then derive the public key from the secret key deterministically, right? So your public key cannot be chosen beforehand, right? The public key has to be a random string, and it can be any identity you want it to be, right? And you know, in addition, since it's a deterministic process, your one secret key can only be used to manage one, you know, public key, right? So but in the case of identity-based encryption, you can first choose your master key, and then you choose your identity, which is your HI, right? So in here, it could be your ENS account or maybe your top Twitter account, right? So you can use your master key to derive the respective secret key, right? So in other words, you can use one secret key, master key, to you know, manage all these HI accounts, right? Which is very useful in process, right? This is one key to rule them all properly. And so we're going to replace the Zephyr, the PK scheme of the Zephyr framework with AIB scheme, and then we exploit the homomorphic property of the AIB scheme and combine it with a modified version of JROD proof to realize the private payment for HIs. So the IB scheme guarantees the amount confidentiality because we encrypt among all the genetic amount using IB scheme, but also we use GKP to guarantee the payment consistency. But we basically get HI anonymity for free, right? Because the underlying, you know, IB scheme we use is called anonymous IB scheme. So it it guarantees the anonymity of the identities we use. So therefore, you know, we don't need to have any actual, you know, JROD proof like one out of many proof in the case of Zephyr, or Merkle-based membership proof in the case of DoraHacks, right? So we save lots of gas costs in that aspect. This is the second technical feature we solve. So the third problem is, you know, as I mentioned, we have to verify the HI and also in a privacy-preserving way, right? So the first question we ask is, how do you verify the authenticity of a certain HI? Let's say I claim I own a certain mobile number. How do you know it is true, right? So if you ever go through any KYC process of exchange, right, you know that, you know, when they do is basically they send an authentication code to your mobile, right? And then you type back into the to your mobile number, right? Now you type back into this authentication code. If the code is correct, then basically they know that you are indeed the owner of this particular mobile number, right? Okay, so this is in crypto term, it's basically challenge and response protocol, right? This principle can be applied to many HIs verifications, right? Regardless whether it's, you know, a Twitter account or maybe Facebook account, whatever, right? You can do it all this in the same way. Okay, so I know how to verify these things, but then you have to produce a private proof. So this is easy, right? Basically, we can use some randomization signature and GKP to, you know, to generate a private proof for your identity, verify HIs basically. So this is the third challenge we addressed. So compared with existing private payment scheme like DoraHacks, Aztec, Solana, and Zephyr, etc. First of all, all schemes specifically designed for HI, right? Now these are right. Now these schemes are, and also we have this one key to reasonable property, and they don't, because they all based on traditional PKE, but ours is based on HIB, so it's a huge difference. And also in terms of privacy, we can achieve the highest level we can get, right? So the token distribution, we're gonna spend like 8% for the seed run, and also we're gonna leave like 70% for airdrop and etc. Yeah. So some potential applications. Since our scheme is based on verified HI, so as you know, regulation compliance has to be based on KYC, all right, and KYC has to be based on verifiable identities. Right? Just think about when you go to a traditional banking system. If you want to open a bank account, right, the staff member is going to ask you to present your identity card, right? So it's sort of the same. In our case, we have a verifiable identity like your mobile number, right, as a basis to build a regulation compliant private payment schemes. And there are lots of interesting applications can be built on top of it, like electronic invoicing, right, et cetera, et cetera. And also, since we have verifiable HIs, we can also use a private analysis of the background information to build a credit system or lending, borrowing, et cetera. And the third application is that I have many friends working for like Ant Finance, working on integration of identity-based encryption or attribute-based encryption, which is extension of identity-based encryption and blockchains, right? I don't see many works going on in the crypto sphere. But as I know, identity-based encryption is one of the most actively researched area in the last 2 decades, right? So there are lots of interesting concepts, cryptographers have proposed for based on IB, right? For instance, one interesting concept is called hierarchical IB. Right? So hierarchical IB, which basically allows a key holder of a certain identity to be able to generate a key for the extension of these identities, right? So let's say you're the CEO of a certain company, right? You have a key for this company. You basically can use this key to derive all the keys for your company employees. Therefore, you will be able to decrypt all the financial transaction of the company employees, right? On the other hand, let's say you have Sublime, who is the head of this marketing department, right? And he's going to be, or he or she is only going to be able to decrypt the financial transaction of his or her the marketing department, but nothing outside of the marketing department, right? So this is what we call a hierarchical IB scheme, which is very good for like financial management of hierarchical organizations, right? So this is technically, it's a very interesting technical application of IB's our system. We can directly build on top of our Faceless project. Yeah. So currently we have finished R&D, and also we submitted a white paper to an academic conference and got accepted. We developed the core technology of our scheme, like the smart contract, GKP, and also the private HR verification. We applied for a Web 3.0 grant and got accepted, and we also successfully delivered the milestone 1. Basically, is the smart contract and the core technology here. So we're currently working on the front end design, also the integration between the front and back end. So the team, I myself is a cryptographer by training. I got a PhD in applied cryptography from Shanghai University and privacy preserving distributed system from UFL. I did a postdoc in EPFL Switzerland and worked in Hong Kong also on blockchain project, and I published many papers over the year. I owned 2 years patents, and I was the CTO of Solana project previously. And our CMO, she was the co-founder of a top real estate consulting company. She also was the CMO of Solana. And our collaboration scientist, Jeffrey, he's the CNS research scientist. She got a PhD from ENS on crypto and also did a postdoc in Germany. And he's also an expert in secure multi-party computation and GKP. Yeah. And here are some information regarding our Twitter account and also white paper. And yep.
Perfect. Thank you for your presentation and for sharing all that information with us. So something that I wanted to ask you was, do you mind speaking a little bit more about the revenue model?
Oh, sure. Revenue model, sure. And from our experience from dealing with Solana, so basically we can charge first of all the utility the facial token, our token, facial token can be used as a gas fee, right? And also, since our scheme intends to be regulation compliant, and we believe there are going to be lots of needs for regulation compliance in the future, and lots of interesting applications from the perspective of regulation compliance. Just very one simple example I mentioned, like electronic invoicing, right? So our electronic invoicing is going to be based on verified HRIs, right? So this is an evidence that you can maybe in the future you can use in court, right? So we can charge certain fee from that perspective, right? And also, in the future, we are also intend to propose some roll-up scheme to further improve the scalability of, our layer 2 payment scheme. So our token is going to be definitely used in that side, right? So, sort of like mining rewards, to, like encourage as an incentive to encourage people to, generate the zero-log proof, etc. Things like that.
Yeah, got it. And the other thing I was going to ask you is, in terms of users, right? Who are your target users? Who you aim to provide the solution to?
I believe anyone who cares about privacy, and any Web 3.0 world, any user who is interested to enter into this brave new world of Web 3.0, right? As I mentioned, right, our vision is to break break the digital garden world of current internet economy, right? So we believe anybody who believe in this vision is going to be our user.
Yeah. Do you believe that it's better positioned for individuals or institutions, or who do you think it's better positioned for?
I think both. I mean, from an individual perspective, we provide a private payments solution for them. For the institution, I think I believe they care more about regulation compliance, and our solution is focusing on regulation compliance. So, our product definitely is a good fit for the institution in that regard. Yeah.
Got it. Perfect. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Now we will move on to the final project of the day, and that is Next Step. So welcome, Mustafa.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having me. My name is Mustafa Naqib. I'm a software engineer for more than 10 years. I come from biomedical engineering background, but been taken on fintech and blockchain assignments for the past 5 years. Currently, I'm working in core banking in a bank, and I'm working with this as a side project, a solo hacker. So yeah, what I'm trying to do here with Next Step is direct execution of business process models. There are standard way of modeling business processes that business users, as business analysts and managers are familiar with. So I'm trying through that to connect them directly to use it as a way of smart contract in themselves or interact with smart contracts. So generally speaking, one of the main uses of blockchain is you're describing a business process where more than one business entity is involved, and hence the importance of a blockchain, in which scenario you don't have to trust another business entity more than you should. Like there shouldn't be a central server that have all the business process logic and user accounts. So normally such businesses would want a way of modeling their businesses and communicating its current status. Of course, all these examples are typical examples of blockchain, like supply chain applications, subcontracting, uh, governance, which I'm trying to use here as a proof concept of the usability of the project. Uh, what what's happening here is that you have a business process modeled by business users that needs involvement from other parties. That needs transparency, needs monitoring. This is an example of a typical business process modeled by business analysts. And here's another simple one, trying to show here what I'm trying to do. So this can be drawn by many standard tools like Draw.io, or maybe use the modelers that comes from the companies that do have execution servers like Oracle, like SAP, and others. Whatever model that can get you a BPMN file, you can use. Here, this process I'm describing a simple support process where a supervisor would look at a ticket and decide on the critical level of that ticket, and then would decide upon that whether a senior engineer approval or a normal engineer approval is needed to continue. This can be done now. It can be executed at a central server. What I'm trying to do with Solana is executing that model in a way that is transparent to other entities. And each of these lanes can actually come from a different organization, and they needn't centralize how they executing this logic or how they're managing these accounts. Some of these steps can be assigned rather to a multi-sig account, or maybe another contract to integrate with existing smart contracts written in code, like typical Solana smart contract. I'm going to skip through this here. So again, with version 1, I'm trying to do something that doesn't need setup, would easily onboard new users. You can use an existing web interface to do the modeling. You can use your existing modeler that you feel comfortable with, and then directly execute that using your account on the chain. Typical users of such system would be again current users who already use the BPMN standard. I'm trying to make it even easier, since this doesn't need the typical setup where you go and acquire a BPMN execution server and set that up. You can, if you just have a file, you can just deploy. And again, I'd be happy if existing smart contract developers would encapsulate their smart code as blocks, easy to use blocks that can be used again by business analysts and managerial audience. So in a typical software development life cycle, whenever a manager needs to add an extra approval step that wasn't modeled when he contracted for the decentralized app in the first place, he can just go in, add that step in the model, redeploy that, and be done with it, rather than the longer typical life cycle of a smart contract development. I'm still working to port that on Solana. I just finished porting on another major platform and integrating with Solidity Code. I'm trying here to run it on Solana and integrate it with Solana smart contracts. Yeah, things on top of my head that can be used for this is, again, a DAO. Why DAOs exactly? Because in a DAO, what you'll be giving your user is not a code to trust and vote on. What you'll be giving your user is a visual representation. That is exactly what's going to be executed. So what he sees as a drawing is what gets executed. He's interested in knowing what steps is going to happen and who's going to do what and what's going to happen after that. But he might not be interested in or will have to trust whether a loop starts at 0 or 1. It's just represent in step representation. So yeah, again, among other uses. The way I see this can be applicable to many scenarios. Okay, so I try to be fast and brief as possible. And yeah, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I'm really looking here for feedback because not sure where to take this next.
Thanks, Mustafa. Thank you very much. Yeah, one of the questions that I had was so obviously your product is for businesses, right? To integrate your product into their business, correct?
Yes, for business user audience that are not developers for now. I want them more engaged with the smart contract, to compose smart contracts without the need of a smart contract developer.
Yeah, got you. So, so my question is really, how do you plan to attract and like gain traction in this space and get users to come on board in this space? What's your target there, and how do you aim to do that?
I'm not sure about the next step. I'm still trying to get feedback. But on top of my head, one of the first use cases I'm trying to tackle is having a software as a service kind of execution server where you don't set up one, you just use the existing Solana blockchain as a very cheap replacement of a server. You don't need to maintain, and again, open. You don't need to set up your user base. You don't. It's very easy to talk to other businesses, your clients. So that would be my first, maybe easiest path to get more people on board. But again, not sure. Looking for feedback.
Yeah. And then I assume that when people sign up and use your product, that's when they'll be paying a fee, or there'll be like a monthly fee, or how's that process going to work? Or are you still trying to figure that out?
Well, no, yeah, not sure about the revenue, but it can, it in itself, it can be like a sort of public good utility. Its value does appear more when you're using it in an application like a document workflow, for example. You really want in such scenario, the transaction fees are still marginal compared to the cost of maintaining a full server. So in such scenario, actually charging a fee per execution instruction is very feasible. But what I have in mind, though, if this become popular and people are familiar with it, it's important would come from a marketplace of smart contract blocks that can be reused in different business processes. So you can very quickly compose a marketing offer for your clients, like on the spot with your market clients, using ready-made audited components, NFT components that, as much as you would use this pre-audited, revised certified business process block, you know you have all its merits, it's being validated, it's compliant with many standards, etc. And it will be a very good marketplace for such I call business NFTs.
Yeah. Got it. Cool. All right, well, thanks, Mustafa. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Perfect. So that concludes our demo session. So thank you to all the teams and presenters for joining us today and contributing your time and efforts to today's demo session. It was fantastic to hear from all of you and what your teams are building. This session has been extremely helpful for us and the community to better understand what your project, vision, and future plans are. Guys in the audience, if you do have any questions for the presenting teams, please feel free to try out their product, join their community, and engage with them, as I'm sure they'd love to hear from you and get some feedback. We do have a series of events like today coming up. So if you are interested and haven't yet followed us on YouTube and Binance Lives, please make sure that you do so that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming sessions that we're going to host for you. So thanks again for joining us today, guys, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.